Hello, I'm Kristen Graham, and today I will be talking about how equine law differs from the laws of other animals. I will probably use the word horse or horses, but in most cases I'm referring to all equids. I will talk about how horses are classified under the law, some of the differences between federal and state laws, and some other agencies involved in equine welfare. So how are equines classified? Are they considered livestock or are they pets? Historically, horses were considered beasts of burden and were raised to perform work, and when the horse's useful life was over, the horse was used for food or other purposes. It was really not that long ago that horses and other equids were a primary means of transportation. And even though their role has changed with the invention of the automobile, they have not been totally replaced in our society. Even with modern technology, today equines are still used by the military, as we saw burros being used in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom, and horses are still used at Arlington National Cemetery for full honors funerals. We keep horses as companion animals, ride them in competitions, and use them on ranches and farms to perform a variety of tasks. Here in the US, many people have a soft spot in their heart for horses, even if they've never owned one. And this has led to the anti-slaughter legislation that has shut down the horse slaughter plants. As people began resisting the use of horses for meat, the classification of horses as a livestock animal became fuzzy. So what does the federal law say about horses? According to federal law, specifically Titles 7 and 9 of the Code of Federal Regulations, horses are classified as livestock, right along with cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, and poultry. The many subchapters of Titles 7 and 9 regulates the interstate transportation of livestock, outlines regulations to prevent the spread of diseases, and describes regulations on international import and export, among other things. According to the USDA's National Agricultural Library, horses are listed as a livestock species, but there is not as much information on horses on the USDA website as there are for other livestock species or companion animals. Also, under Title 9 of the Code of Federal Regulations is the Equine Protection Act of 1970 that seeks to protect horses from being sored prior to competition and auctions. Soring is the act of deliberately causing pain to exaggerate leg motion in a horse's gait. This has been an ongoing problem in some disciplines for some time, and the act has been revised a few times throughout the years. While slaughter is covered in another presentation, I just wanted to briefly point out that even though horses are a livestock species and listed along with those other species whose main purpose is to provide meat and fiber, horses are either not mentioned in the laws that regulate the slaughter of other livestock, or they are still included in some of the articles that appear to have been written prior to the 2009 ban on horse slaughter. The federal laws seem simple compared to the array of state laws and regulations out there. I focused on the laws in Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming because that's where I've grown up and where I've lived most of my life. But I would encourage you to look up the specific laws in your state. You might find some interesting ones. Here I've tried to list some of the more interesting laws that I found in each of these states. In Colorado, horses are generally classified as livestock when it comes to fencing laws and branding laws. However, there is a distinction made between bovine livestock and equine livestock, as far as fees for brand inspections are concerned. Nebraska also classifies horses as a livestock species, but they have some other laws. In Nebraska, it is illegal to rope a horse for entertainment. This is also known as horse tripping. Also in Nebraska, an equine massage therapist or chiropractor must work under the supervision of a veterinarian. Colorado and Wyoming have no such laws. Also in Nebraska, horses are not subject to the brand inspection laws that cattle are placed under in the western half of the state. And so far, my favorite law that I've found in doing research is the Nebraska Revised Statute 29-415. It states, "The sheriffs of the several counties within this state are hereby authorized to offer and pay a reward not exceeding the sum of $50 for the capture and conviction of any person charged with stealing a horse or horses, automobile or automobiles within their respective counties." I believe this law was written in 1927, and it's still on the books today. In Wyoming, horses are also considered livestock and are subject to the same brand inspection laws and fencing laws that cattle are. Horses are also included with other livestock species under the estrays laws for loose livestock. Unclaimed or wild horses are treated differently, and a person must get a permit if they want to gather any unclaimed horses. This is a whole nother topic in itself. In Wyoming, under Title 11, Chapter 20, it states that if a person owns a horse that breaches the lawful enclosure of another party, the horse owner is liable for any damages. This is actually a very lengthy article, and I have just given a summary of it here. Every state has some type of law regarding horses. Texas, for instance, now regulates equine dentistry. I encourage you to check out the equine laws in your state. Just go to your state's legislature's website and look for the list of statutes. Other agencies that have their own regulations or advocate for horse-specific legislation include, but are not limited to, the American Veterinary Medical Association, the American Association of Equine Practitioners, and various breed associations. Each one of these associations have long lists of rules that their members must follow. Just a quick look at the American Veterinary Medical Association's website brings up a long list of equine-related topics. Some of the topics include soring, which we already talked about, tail alteration of show horses, euthanasia, management of mares in the pregnant mare urine collection industry, abuse, neglect, horse tripping, and the use of urban work horses. So I have briefly touched on how horses are classified and some of the various laws that apply to horses on a federal and state level, and also some of the other agencies that are out there regulating the use of horses and who also advocate for their legislation. I hope you have a chance to look at some of these laws yourself. Here are a few links to some very informative websites if you'd like to do a little bit of your own research. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.